Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds news once again. This is episode number 36 and it covers the WordPress news for the week commencing the 22nd of October 2018. Just a couple of things before we start. Very much appreciate it. We've got our 100th episode coming up this Thursday. And if you wouldn't mind heading over to wpbuilds.com/webinars, because over there you can find out all about the live podcast that we're doing it as a sort of webinar format. If you go over to there, you'll see that there's an icon displaying episode 100 live. And if you want to sign up and join us live for that event, that would be really appreciated. We're going to record it in the same way as normal, but it might be quite nice to have you along. We've got a few guests. We've got 5 people, excluding myself, so there might be 6 of us, there might be 5 depending on availability, but it's going to be a little bit different. The primary purpose though is to announce the winners of the episode 100 Quite Good giveaway, and if you go over to wpbuilds.com/100, you've got a few more days to enter the competition. Really appreciate any shares that you could put out over the internet. That would be great. And see if you can bag yourself one of those massive haul of 180 plus plugins, themes, courses and so on. So that would be great. Also to say that at wpbuilds.com/deals, we've got a whole heap of discounts on plugins, and I've added a few more this week. Okay, so there we go. Right, let's get stuck into the news. The first news is from the WP Tavern website, and it's entitled WordPress 5.0 Beta 1, now available for testing. Well, what more is there to say? We now have a beta candidate, which means that we're incredibly close to WordPress 5.0, and that obviously means Gutenberg. It, by the sounds of it, is going to be launching in about 24 days from now, maybe a little bit less by the time this actually goes live. So it's very close. Obviously, the things that need to be tested are Gutenberg itself still, plus the 2019 theme and compatibility with old themes, 2017 and so on and so on. So yeah, it's a very substantial piece of news coming very soon. Okay, the next one is on the zdnet.com website, and it's entitled WordPress Team Working on Wiping Older Versions from Existence on the Internet. And it's a little interesting article. It's actually quite a long article, all about the WordPress security team's endeavours to make WordPress as secure as possible. And one of those things is to migrate people up to the latest version. Now, got a nice little chart on there which shows that 95.9%, so 96% shall we say, of people are using WordPress 4 point something. There's very few people on version 3, less on 2 and less on 1, thank goodness. But it's all about what they do to make that happen. Obviously, at some point in the not too distant past, they made automatic updates sort of mandatory, default on, if you like. But it's also talking about this new Tide rating and about how they're trying to get plugin developers to make their offerings up to date and keep you up to date, and about how that sort of stuff is going to affect their rankings in the WordPress.org repo. So just a little interesting article about keeping WordPress up to date from a very high level. Okay, this next one is again back to the WP Tavern website. It's entitled The New Woo Adopts Gutenberg Components User Interface Driven by React, and it's really relating to WooSesh, which is a virtual conference which was held very recently, where a lot of nice stuff was revealed. Primarily it's not the WP admin, it's a GitHub project called WC-admin, WC-admin, and it's a lovely new dashboard for WooCommerce. There's an awful lot of nice stuff to see in there. You know, it puts if you're a WooCommerce user, it puts all of your orders and so on in full view in the dashboard. It looks really nice. Lots of charts and information about the latest orders and so on. It was built with React, so it's very much up to date and forward looking. And the activity panel is going to sort of act like a bit of an interface for doing emails and things like that as well in the back end. So very nice. If you're a WooCommerce user, this is probably something you should be checking out, because it's very likely what's going to ship with WooCommerce very soon. The next one is by Tom McFarlane, a WordPress developer, and it's called When You Get Bored with WordPress Part 1. And Tom, it would seem, not himself, but he's encountered a lot of people in the recent past who obviously got an inclination to be continually learning. And eventually they kind of reach the point where WordPress doesn't provide them with those challenges. And they say, I'm bored with WordPress, I'm going to move on and learn something new. Well, although Tom, I don't think, holds this opinion himself, it's a little interesting article. And if you found yourself getting a bit fed up with WordPress and constantly trying to keep up to date with it, this might be of interest to you, because he makes this sort of bullet pointed list of about 10 things which, if you really were bored with WordPress, you could seriously deep dive into them, and they'd probably give you a lifetime's worth of things to be learning. But anyway, interesting article. There is a part 2 which I haven't linked to, and you can follow that up for yourself. Okay. The next one is called WCEU Team is working on PWA support for all WordCamp websites. Apparently, at WordCamp Europe, there was a PWA, or a progressive web app, which enabled attendees to be able to see all sorts of really interesting information about the WordCamp itself, for example, maps and itineraries and so on. And apparently it was really well received. When you view this web page in inverted commas, it enables you to have like a home screen icon, and it behaves basically in the same way that an app would that you've downloaded onto your phone, including notifications and so on. Well, apparently it was so well received that now there is a push so that all WordCamps will have access to this tool. Now, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's just the beginning of the journey, but maybe 2 years from now, if you attend a WordCamp, hopefully this app will be enabled for the attendees of those WordCamps, which I just think is a really, really nice little feature. Okay, now we've got one called New Plugin Adds Elementor Templates as Gutenberg Blocks, and this is from the guys at Elementor, who have added a Gutenberg block which you can simply drag in to a Gutenberg layout, and it enables you to pull in any template that you've made with the Elementor page builder. So that's a really nice addition. So you could build something supremely complex with Elementor and then very simply drag it into Gutenberg, and it would just sit there as part of a Gutenberg page or post. So really fascinating. You can imagine, I don't know, making ad blocks, or the sky is the limit, really. But it enables you to mix and match in a Gutenberg world, and I think Elementor are kind of leading the charge here with their Gutenberg compatibility. My understanding is that the other page builders as yet don't have this. It's more of a link to the page builder from Gutenberg, whereas Elementor seems to be pushing the boundaries a little bit. And I'm sure that people will play with that and decide whether or not it's suitable for them. Okay, this next one is from the WPMU Dev website, slightly strangely, because it's all about Toolset, because Toolset is a different product altogether, not one by WPMU Dev, but it's a nice write-up of their custom search. They use the analogy of Airbnb, and if you want to book an Airbnb property, you've got to go through a whole bunch of searches, price range, number of rooms, location, and so on. And it's kind of an instruction of how you might build this with the Toolset plugin. So how you might do a custom search with zero coding skills required, right down to how you might get maps to work and the filtering and so on. There's lots of rivals plugins that will do exactly this kind of thing, but if you're a Toolset user and you've never really got into Toolset search, this might be an article that you want to look at. Next one is WP Engine, the WordPress managed hosting solution, has bought a company called Array Themes. Now, Array Themes have been around for quite a long time, and obviously it was only a little while ago that WP Engine bought Studio Press and all the Genesis stuff that lives inside that company. Well, now they've acquired Array Themes. It seems to me almost like they've done this to get hold of something called Atomic Blocks, and Atomic Blocks is one of the most popular ways of putting pre-made templated blocks into Gutenberg. So it kind of feels to me as if that's really what WP Engine were doing here. They've acquired some personnel. A couple of guys have gone over to work for WP Engine from Array Themes, but it seems that they're going to start putting some of the atomic blocks functionality inside anything that comes under the Genesis banner in the near future. So if you're a Genesis user, this might be of interest to you because you're suddenly going to get, extra Gutenberg compatibility in the near future. So there we go. I'm sure this will happen as life goes on over the next year or two. Consolidation of plugins and WordPress things being bought up by some of the bigger companies, of which WP Engine is one. Okay. Next one, WP Campus is pursuing an independent accessibility audit of Gutenberg. Now, in the very recent past, it was decided that Gutenberg wasn't going to receive an accessibility audit, and so WP Campus is going to do this themselves. It seems that they've got a community of about 800 web professionals, and they're largely in the education space, so they build products and have a community based around university and education professionals. And they've decided that because a lot of the products and websites that they build with WordPress have a legal responsibility to be accessible for obvious reasons, they want to ensure that Gutenberg gets those credentials and gets fixed to be as accessible as possible, as quickly as possible. It seems that they're going to do this off their own dollar. I don't know if there's a donation page. It seems sort of like there might be. Certainly companies like Pagely have decided to donate $1,000 and so on. But if you're in the if accessibility is of interest to you, this is certainly something you want to be following. Gutenberg at the moment, it would appear that this is getting left a little bit on the back burner because Gutenberg is not going to be ready and fully accessible in a few days' time when it launches. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, the next one is to say that the very popular WordPress theme Astra has got a couple of new features this week. The most notable one, which I'm going to mention here, is a new mega menu. Obviously, those of you who use Astra will be keen to get hold of the mega menu. You can do all the usual stuff. You can have multiple columns, you can have menu items highlighted, you can put maps and forms and things, and whatever your heart desires can now go in there. So if you are an Astra user, maybe go and check out the link in the show notes. Okay, that's it for the WordPress news. A couple of ones just not WordPress related. The first one from Search Engine Journal entitled AMP pages will soon support video docking, sticky ads and more. Obviously, if you've been using AMP pages, accelerated mobile pages, I think the project was initially launched by Google. I could be wrong about that. Well, anyway, it's a kind of immediate cached version of a page, but it's limited in its feature set. But now we're going to be able to dock videos in the way that you've seen on all sorts of websites, like YouTube can stick the video in the bottom and you scroll up and it just stays there. That kind of stuff's going to happen. Infinite scroll for page elements. So, for example, Google search might be able to just keep loading content as you scroll up the page on mobile. You can also apparently do sticky ads and things like that, and there's going to be video player enhancements. So, for example, they're going to be adding missing mute and unmute buttons and fixing hidden controls whilst playing and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, obviously very important to stay up to date with the mobile stuff. So that's quite a good one. And the last one is a very long post by IamAhmedKhalifa.com, and it's called "Being Shot Down Because of Accessibility Needs is Not Something Anyone Should Expect." Very long article in which he talks about his interactions with trying to, in his case, struggle with accessibility needs because of his impairments, and about the fact that he has tried to, in his case, make the world a better place by trying to transcribe videos of WordCamps. It does at the bottom go into a sort of slight conversation that he had with Matt Mullenweg, which didn't really make him a particularly happy person, because allegedly Matt had sort of said that this wasn't a pressing need at the time. I can't remember the exact words, but very interesting. And again, accessibility seems to be bubbling up at the moment. 5 months ago or so, it was hardly being mentioned at all, and now it seems to be cropping up each and every week. So again, if accessibility is your thing, go and check it out. So there we go, that's a wrap. That's the WordPress news for this week. Please, as I say, go over to wpbuilds.com/webinars. We would love to have you live on our podcast this coming Thursday. That would be wonderful. And also go to wpbuilds.com/100 and enter yourself into that giant competition. Okay, we'll see you on Thursday. Hopefully some of you live. Bye-bye.